Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to welcome the witnesses and thank you for appearing voluntarily before our subcommittee. Let me start by saying I love the game of golf. I enjoy playing it. I wish I was a whole lot better, and I enjoy watching it. Golf is a pure meritocracy. Golfers succeed or fail on their own. Every golfer can empathize with a pro who is trying to hold on to a one-shot lead, execute a difficult shot, or sink a crucial putt. We appreciate the moments of celebration, and we sympathize with the failed attempts. The game of golf has developed a handicap system that allows golfers like me at a lower skill level to enjoy competing with one another. But it is the competition at the highest level that brings us here today. Every professional sport faces the exact same challenges. How do you structure and maintain competition to attract large audiences and maximize the revenue base? How do you fairly compensate all the athletes, from the top stars to the journeyman players striving for the top? And in a global environment, how do you accomplish this with entities possessing dramatically unequal resources? League sports in America provide a good example of this dilemma. How can small city markets like Green Bay or Milwaukee afford to field teams to effectively compete against cities like New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles that have much larger fan bases? The solution has been the formation of leagues and governing bodies that develop and enforce the rules of the game and competition. Unfortunately, many of the rules and practices that these leagues engage in may run afoul of the Sherman and Clayton antitrust laws. In researching the legislative and judicial history of sports in America, I must agree with the assertion of a 1987 University of Miami Law Review article that states, quote, "The precise law governing the relationship between professional sports leagues and the Sherman Act is so noticeably confused and unsettled. A simple explanation for this confusion is that it is difficult to write a law that effectively addresses every situation and every reality." This hearing deals specifically with the reality the PGA Tour faced when Saudi Arabia decided to get involved and invest in professional golf. According to its 2021 990 tax form, the PGA Tour has net assets worth approximately $1.25 billion. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund is estimated to be worth between $600 and $700 billion, 500 times larger than the PGA Tour. Until the creation of LIV Golf, the multiple golf tours throughout the world competed in a commercial marketplace dictated by the normal market force of profit and loss. LIV is financed by an entity that was committed to competing for top players with little, if any, regard or expectation of a direct financial return. From a commercial standpoint, it's not a fair fight, and the PGA Tour accurately viewed the LIV as an existential threat. Now, I have the deepest sympathy for the families of 9/11 and support their efforts of obtaining information currently being withheld by the U.S. and Saudi governments. And Mr. Chairman, as a quick aside, I was approached by some members of 9/11 families of the hall today, and they gave me a document that summarizes, I guess, the FBI's investigation of Saudi involvement in 9/11. And like so many documents that I receive, it's heavily redacted. The FBI, the United States government, the Saudi government is not being transparent with the 9/11 families. And I want to completely support the 9/11 families in obtaining transparency and the truth. So I'd like to enter this document into the record so that people can view for themselves the lack of transparency of our government and the Saudi government.
Without objection, and I might just say I have spoken to the 9/11 families about exactly this resistance by our own government, the FBI, and other agencies to provide the facts that are necessary for them to seek simple justice, and I would join you in a bipartisan effort to make those facts more available.
And hopefully that's a really good bipartisan result of this hearing. Sports washing is also a legitimate issue, but no amount of money can wash away the stain of the brutal Khashoggi assassination and other human rights abuses. But it would be grossly unfair to expect the PGA Tour to bear the full burden of holding Saudi Arabia accountable. After all, anyone who drives a car or uses oil-based products has helped fill the coffers of the Saudi Public Investment Fund. Foreign investment in the U.S. is generally a good thing, and I'd rather have the Saudis reinvest their oil wealth in America as opposed to China or Russia. Also, if the kingdom's involvement in golf and other sports helps it to modernize and offer more rights to women, wouldn't that be a good thing? Although I believe there are many more pressing issues Congress and this subcommittee should be focusing on, like many Americans, I have a great deal of interest in how this issue is resolved. As courts have indicated, Congress does have a legitimate role to play in settling the confusion in the law governing professional sports. That said, I did not sign the request for information or the memo issued by the majority because the parties are in the midst of what should be a private negotiation, and there's no deal to review. Inquiries and investigations conducted by this subcommittee generally involve some measure of wrongdoing. There's nothing wrong with the PGA Tour negotiating its survival. Negotiations are often delicate, mostly private, and I fear Congress getting involved at this stage could have negative consequences. But I hope this hearing can be constructive and address the many legitimate questions the public has regarding the future of golf and how to preserve the purity of competition at the highest levels of the game. Although the various parties in this dispute bring different perspectives and objectives to it, my guess is they do share a common love and respect for the game of golf and want to see it succeed well into the future. So again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I thank the witnesses and look forward to your testimony.